TikTok says there's a content gap around emotional neglect in adult relationships. People are trying to search for answers, but there's not enough information available. So I've always found the concept of emotional neglect in adult relationships to be kind of strange. Totally understand emotional neglect in childhood. Children are still forming their sense of self. So when they experience emotional neglect, one of two things happens. They either grow up dependent on other people for their emotional support, struggling with self-validation, or they avoid intimacy altogether because it never felt safe. But in both cases, they never learn to self-validate or to meet their own emotional needs. So by definition, neglect means failing to care for properly. And when we look at what's considered emotional neglect in marriage, it's like superficial conversations, feeling dismissed and ignored, avoiding difficult conversations, or a feeling of disconnection. But what we're actually describing is a lack of emotional intimacy. And the people that experience this will often call it emotional withholding or emotional neglect. They're used interchangeably. So here's the question. If emotional neglect is simply a lack of emotional intimacy within the relationship, is that something that can be truly withheld? Or is that more about what a person is capable of to begin with? Like if somebody never learned how to develop emotional intimacy, can we really say that they're being neglectful? Are they just simply being who they are? Or are we defining emotional neglect by how it feels to the person receiving it? It feels like neglect. It feels like something was given and then taken away, right? Like in the beginning, it usually feels like we get emotional intimacy. But were they ever truly giving emotional intimacy, or were you just experiencing a rush of chemicals that felt like a deep connection? And I say this as someone who has been there. I spent years feeling like I was emotionally neglected in my marriage, giving away my power, waiting for somebody else to meet my emotional needs without realizing that I was actually emotionally neglecting myself because I never learned boundaries or self-respect or self-validation, and I kept attracting relationships that mirrored that back to me. And I may be honest, the entire system is designed to fail. From childhood, we're not taught how to truly meet our own emotional needs, let alone how to build relationships from a place of wholeness. And instead, we're taught that love means seeking completion in another person. And when that person doesn't meet our emotional needs, we call it neglect, without realizing that we were the ones who abandoned ourselves first. So what if emotional neglect in adult relationships isn't about what the other person isn't giving you, but about what we haven't learned how to give ourselves? And this video isn't about blame or shame. It's about looking at the situation with a new lens, one that actually supports your evolution instead of keeping you stuck where you are. So if you're ready to stop waiting for somebody else to meet your emotional needs, check out my masterclass, All I Need Is Me, because I promise you're the one that you've been waiting for.